Hey everybody, welcome to the 83rd edition of Drive-Thru Review. Today I'm going to talk about Giza, the Great Pyramid, not to be confused with another game called Giza, so make sure you look it up with the full name. This game plays 3 to 4 players. It says about 90 minutes, and that's probably about right. I would say 90 minutes, 3 or 4 players about every time, give or take. This is a really cool game. I really like this game a lot. It's got some sort of a mixed bag with the components. There's a couple components that are really awesome, and there's some other components that are sort of mediocre, you know, kind of expect more, but that's not a big deal. The gameplay is pretty interesting, it's pretty unique. It feels a little bit sort of a kind of a throwback Euro. It doesn't feel derived or repetitive or anything, but it's got, you know, it takes some traditional Euro elements, traditional Euro theme with the Egypt. So to be honest, when I first kind of heard about the game, it was an Egypt game, and I just went like this. And even though I'm a Euro guy and I love Euro games, Egypt theme's not really big for me. If it's Egypt theme, I don't know, it's Egypt, who cares? They're long gone. But this is cool because this is actually, you're building the Great Pyramid, and when you think of Egypt, you think of the Great Pyramids, and that's the iconic, thing, their legacy that they've given us. And this is all about building one giant pyramid. In the whole game, and trying to get the pleasing of the pharaoh. So let me tell you how it works, and I'll come back and tell you why I like it so much. Okay, let me give you a quick component overview here. You got your main board. You can see right away you've got these three-dimensional pyramid pieces here. So what you're going to be doing is basically trying to move these down, these tracks, from these sort of supply areas where you get farms and goods and things. Move it down these tracks to this pyramid site here. We're actually going to snap together the pieces of the pyramid. So you got your base pieces that you start off with here at the bottom, then you got your center pieces here, you can see those, and they snap in, and then you've got the top, the capstone. So the whole game is basically trying to move all these down and then be sort of the most influential person at the time that you move them down and get points. So you got two basic goods in the game. You've got food here on the left, and you've got art here on the right in red. Now this is basically 1 art and 5 art, and 1 food and 5 food. These aren't double-sided, so that's kind of ugly. So that's not a huge deal, but it's sort of disgusting. But these make up for it because these pieces are awesome. So no big deal. Now players are going to hide their food and their art behind these screens here. So you got 1 screen in each color, and then on the back of the screen is a nice little sort of action chart here. So barring these 2 actions here on the left in gray, these are all the actions that you can take in your turn. On your turn, you'll have 3 actions. So you could farm for food, or produce art, or move some of your guys around on the board. I'll explain that in more detail. And then you can get bonuses for some of these actions, which I'll explain in just a second. And that explains that here as well. It's pretty nice. I like this a lot. Finally, we've got these nice chunky wooden blocks here in player color. So player will choose a color. And these are going to act as a couple of purposes here. You're going to have the workers out here on the board, maybe in different areas here, to take different actions. You'll have 1 going around the score track here around the board. And then you've got this sort of bonus action spot, which I'll talk about in just a second, that players are going to place their markers in. And this is a really neat, really cool aspect of the game. So I've kind of gone ahead and set this up as a 4-player game here. And so players are going to take 5 of these blocks and set them aside for placing in this area over here. And then players are going to get, let's see, 3 art and 8 food to start the game. Put that behind their shields, and then put 1 on the victory point track. And then you're going to take turns from a start player, placing 2 blocks in any one of these spots. So let me show you that. So I've just done it randomly here. But let's say everybody placed theirs, and then now I'm the white player, and it's my, I'm going to place last here. So when you place 2 of these, you can place them either like in the same spot here in the farming and fishing area, or if I wanted, I could place 1 there and then 1 here in the Temple of Ra. So you don't have to put them all in the same spot. So the areas on the board are basically these 3 support areas, and this is farming and fishing. We'll be able to get food. The Temple of Ra, which doesn't really come into play until midway through the game, especially later in the game. And if you have workers here, you'll be able to score extra points as you build the pyramid. And then here is where you make art, you collect art. The other areas that you can place are any one of these 4 quarry spots here. So each of these 4 beginning stages are for quarry and where you'll start moving. There's a maximum of 4 workers that can be on any one of these spots on the track or on the quarry. Finally, the last 2 spots are these lift camps. And so when you move the big pieces down, they're just going to go right into the pyramid here and then, kind of lock in. When you move one of these center pieces down, you're going to move it here and then it's going to go to a lift camp. So you're going to score it as it moves from the track to the lift camp. And then from the lift camp up on top of the pyramid, there's got to be a legal spot for it to be. You're going to score it again. Now likewise, the capstone, you're going to score it when it passes here and goes to the first lift camp. Then you score it again when you lift it to the top lift camp. And then finally, you're going to lift it on top of the pyramid, score it again, and then that will signify the end of the game. Now you're either going to play till the pyramid's built, or you've played twice through this action selection track here. There's 5 spots here and you play through it twice, so 10 rounds. So after players have seeded the board with workers, we're going to go to this action selection stage. And you're going to do that every round. You're going to select an action, and then the way that you select the actions is going to determine the turn order. And then each player is going to take 3 actions on the board, and then we'll go from there. So let's explain the action selection first. So say it's the first turn of the game, there's not really a turn order, so let's say white is the first player. So he can place his marker in one of these, and then he'll get some kind of bonus, either immediately or during his play. So then red will place, let's say there, and then blue places here, and then brown places down here. So now that everybody's placed and either taken their bonus or expecting to take a bonus on their turn, you're going to do your actions, your 3 actions on your turn in this order. So blue will go, then red, then white, then brown. Then the next turn, brown will get to place first since he's on the bottom. So let's say brown goes here, and then white will place, and then red will place, and then blue will place finally. So now blue could not go here. You can never go in the same spot that you've already been within the span of 5 rounds. We're basically going to play 5 rounds twice. So within each grouping of 5 rounds, you can't take the same bonus twice. And obviously you can't go, where somebody else went. So blue can't go there, he's got to go somewhere different. So maybe he'll go there. So we'll play it in this order, and then place out blocks in this order. So these actions will get kind of eaten up. So red, he can't go either here or here now, so he's got to go here, let's say, or here, and then it fills up. But this is really cool. This is nice. I really like this aspect of it. It adds just that extra layer of decision and planning, and it acts as kind of a guide for a player's strategy. And it's real kind of nice. It's really something a little sublime about that, how it kind of guides the flow and the process and in the order that you're going to do things. So real quickly, what some of the bonuses are. This is no bonus, so obviously you don't get any bonus on your turn. And there are some bonuses here. You can't really see them, but there's a little arrow on these ones here, these brown ones here. And there's a plus on these. So the ones with the arrow you take immediately. So if I place this here, I immediately do a support move, which is basically moving a guy on the board, and I'll explain that in a second. Whereas if I did this here, this is fish twice, but I can't farm. So when you do a production action, which is either producing art, farming, or fishing, you can never usually do that twice. You can't farm all 3 times in your turn. It's just against the rules. But if you go here, you can do 2 fish actions, but you can't farm on that turn. So it's a way of kind of getting bonus food for that round. So you're either going to get a bonus to your production or get a quick free move. So let's talk about the 3 actions that a player can do. Okay, so the player's going to take 3 actions. So if you take farm, let's say I was the brown player and I took farm, I'm basically going to get 1 food for each of my brown workers there. If I took fish, I would get half the food rounded down. So in this case, I'd only get 1 food. Not so great. But remember, you can't farm twice or fish twice on the same turn. So if you really, really wanted food and you didn't get one of the bonuses, you could farm and then fish, and that would be 2 actions. Secondly, you could do art. So if I was brown again, I can take the art action. And what that is you basically have to pay 1 food for each artist that you have that you want to produce art. So I got 3 workers, I could pay up to 3 food and then take 3 art out of the supply. And I'll explain what food and art are used for in a second. This is the Temple of Ra. Again, it's scored at some of the scoring phases, so we'll talk about that in a second. The other actions you can do are moves. So you can do what's called a support move, which basically move one guy from this spot to any one of these other spots, and that's an action. So I can move him here to here for an action. You could do sort of a quarry move, which I can move a guy from here to one of the quarry spots, or from, let's say, this quarry spot over to here, or from the quarry spot to here. So it's basically just you can move a guy for an action. The next thing you could do would be like a quarry advance. So let's say this was down here, because these are going to move, and I had a guy, let's say in this quarry spot here, I could move him down the track for an action to try to chase this block, because you want to try to be with these blocks as they move in and get scored, because you'll get more points that way. So after you've taken 3 actions, then you need to see if any of these pyramid pieces are up for nomination. Now, a pyramid piece will be up for nomination when there's 3 or more workers on that piece. And that's either on these tracks, or if there was a piece here to be moved and there was 3 or more pieces, then it would also be up for nomination. So you have to choose one of these. Now if there was only one of these pieces that had 3 or more workers on it, let's say these didn't have any workers, then basically you'd have to pick that one. Even if you don't have any workers on it, you still got to pick one. You don't have to pick one with your workers. You can pick one whatever you want, but you've got to nominate one. And this is the other exciting part of the game. So what's going to happen now, let's say it was my turn, and I nominate this piece. Then going clockwise around for me, the first person to my left is going to be able to nominate 0 to 2 food per worker they have on this space. So let's say I wasn't involved in this at all. Brown's next to me. He may bid 0 to 2 food, and he'll bid that out loud. He'll show that. And then it comes around to white, and he could basically bid 0 to 4 food because he's got 2 workers here. And here we can see the results. So if the total bid food from all the players is 0 to 3, then we're going to have starvation. Otherwise, if the total is 4 to 5, this is going to move up 1 space. Or if it's 8, it's going to jump up 3 spaces. Now in the same way, you're going to bid for food here, 0 to 2 per worker. But at 0 to 3, we'll have a starvation, or 4 plus, it'll be a success. Basically, a successful lift, either from here to here, or in the case of the capstone, here to here, and then here to here. Now let's say we had a starvation in this case. Brown tries to be sly. He tries to bid 0 food, forcing white to bid all 4 food. But white could just say, okay, you know what, I bid 1 food. Now what starvation means is the piece isn't going to move, and whoever bid the least food, or was tied for bidding the least food, has to drop one of their workers off of the piece here back to the farm. So he says, you know what, I'll bid 1 food just to kick you off. So you kick him off, he goes in the river and then floats down. That's a little part I added. We like to flick them off the river and then they float back down. They've been voted off the island and are worthless people. So the reason you might want to do that is because once this gets up to here, so this is where the scoring is going to happen. So if we're here, we have another nomination, let's say, where we wouldn't because there's only 2, but if we had 3 here, we'd nominate. This moves up successfully, and this is going to go right here, and then we're going to score it. And so whoever has the most workers on there will get 6 points. Whoever has the second most gets 3, and third is 1. But if you're all by yourself in this pot only, you're going to get a bonus 4 points. So this guy would get 10 points right away, and this would go in here. And we score that, and we're done. And it's going to be the same for all these pieces. So when he moves up, we're going to score that, and maybe attach that. Whoever had the most on there gets more points. And then as these move up, so like I said, this moves up, and it's going to score when it moves into here, and then we're going to score it similar up to here. So if this goes up here like that, we'll score it again. And like I said before, the capstone scores once, twice, 3 times, and gets to the top. Now there's 2 other types of scoring here. So if you ever complete basically this row and then this row, only going in this direction on each floor, you're going to score art. So let's say we move this down like so here, like that. And so we're going to score this one, and now this is a blind bid, and anybody can score that. So as we complete this sort of horizontal or vertical, whatever way you're looking at it, segment, everybody puts art out, reveals it, and spends it, and then the person that spends the most gets 6, and then 3, and then 1. So even though these are connected, they're not going to score. But then if we add this one here, we're going to score art again. And then once you complete the whole base of the pyramid, then you're going to score whoever has the most pieces in the Temple of Ra. Again, 6, 3, 1. So again, we'll score art again if we complete this segment like so, because it's going this way and this is the new floor. And then once we complete the floor, we'll do another Ra scoring. Like this. Let me just snap these in there. It's a little bit tricky. So the thing to keep in mind that when you score these as a lift, it works a little bit differently. I'm not going to worry about this too much, but so when you lift it from here, it's not scored by whoever has the most pieces there. It's whoever actually bid the most food to lift it. So you got to keep that in mind as well. And whenever you move this. So an example of moving the piece off of here, once you do that, then you can disperse these workers wherever you want except for back on the quarry. So I can move these guys right up here to help with the lift. I could drop them right back down to the Temple of Ra or the food or wherever I wanted. And the same happens with the lift. So if I lift that, then I can say, okay, I'm done lifting, so I'm going to move these guys here now, or back to the temple, or so forth. And that move happens before you score this temple, so keep that in mind as well. And then finally we jump and we put this one on the top, and this one gets a little bit more of a bonus scoring. It's a 10-6-3-1. And then once you build the pyramid, whoever's got the most points is the winner. Okay, hope you enjoyed the overview. There are a couple of minor details I left out of that. I don't want to explain those because I think it kind of ruins a little bit of the fun of the game sometimes. But that's pretty much the gist. You're taking your actions, you're getting your bonus actions, you're kind of trying to be, have the most influence as those pieces move up, as they're scored, as you're in the Temple of Ra, have some art to score. And this game's really good because I like the whole aspect of getting people kicked off, or sort of making people pay, or trying to push your luck with them and see, and maybe they'll say, okay, screw you, then you're going to get knocked off. And so that makes for some real interesting tension. You got to pay attention to what everybody's doing. It's cool to snap the pyramid together. I really like that. And I think it's a real solid medium weight, and I think that's accurate. So it's really cool. It's just everything fits together and it's very tight, and I quite enjoy it. And it doesn't take too long, and it's not really thinky. It's enough that each of your decisions is really simple. You got 3 actions. You just take them, and then you kind of go with what you think. You try to position yourself to be in a good position for future turns. And you just got to be smart about how you use your actions. And it's a really straightforward game, but it's definitely not a light game at all. I mean, it's something that you have to invest in planning, and it's definitely very strategic. But not without being, hyper strategic. So it's a really great game. The pyramid's great. The components are a little lacking, they're not double-sided or anything, and the art's pretty good. So I would say if you're a Euro fan, I think I would definitely get this. This is one I'm going to keep for a while, and everybody that I've played it with has had a blast playing this. It's just fun. The whole voting of with the food to get the guy off the island is just a blast. And just positioning yourself and trying to get away with things and things like that, kind of hoping that you don't have enough resources and all that. So anyway, sometimes these reviews, just a real quick thing at the end, go buy this, but you cannot tell people how this is, because you have to play a game to play it. So just something on the top of my head. It's difficult to convey how cool this game is, but whatever, cop out. But just go play games. Just play them. It's another form of communication. You can't make movies or words about them. You have to actually do the thing. So you can't describe how to play baseball to somebody. They just play it. Thanks.